Hi, and welcome back to Sticks and Strings. I'm Naomi.
I'm Beth.
I'm Eve.
I'm cozy.
You're hot.
Well, it's hot here, but tomorrow morning at some horrible hour, same horrible hour as last time, I'm flying off to Boston, and it's cold there. It's like in the 60s and like 50s at night, and I'm like, I'm going to freeze. So I was at Fry's, the grocery store. It's like a Kroger tonight, and...
It's not like a Kroger. It is a Kroger.
I mean, it is a Kroger. But it's called Fry's, and it's a marketplace, and so they had clothes. So I bought this jacket for my trip. Isn't it cute?
Did you have to wear it in the store because it's so cold?
No.
We went grocery shopping today, and as I was in the checkout line, I was lamenting to the cashier, I forgot to bring in my sweater. Freezing.
Yeah, I didn't realize how cold I was until we went outside. I thought, oh, it feels good out here.
So I'm going to go first.
Okay.
I have almost nothing to talk about. So part of the reason is that, okay, first I'm going to take off this jacket while I talk. When I was in Boston on the weekend of the 3rd, right? Mm-hmm. And Beth stayed at my house, I buttoned up all my crafts so that she could stay in Hannah's room and actually move around in there. And because of that, like, all my toys are put away, right? And so I did have my knitting, but I felt, I can't describe it, I just kind of lost my mojo. Felt discombobulated, and, you know, everything was pretty much put away in my craft room, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I was busy and unpacking and work and blah, so I didn't do much. And then you saw me last week, and I did finish the second of 3 little pigs. So I took that pig skin and made a pig and took it to work. So that was fun. So I need to make the 3rd one, but yeah, I just haven't felt, I don't know, kind of, I think because I'm going back to Boston and I only had that couple of weeks, I feel kind of discombobulated. And then, anyway, but one of the things I did do was spinning, because my spinning wheel was accessible. So I took out this fiber. Here's a picture of the fiber and the label. And I had purchased it some time ago, and I put it on my little spinning wheel. Here's a picture of it's the single, the first spin of the yarn, and then I will ply it back on itself in like a 3-ply to preserve the color changes. It's really pretty. And I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I'm making yarn because that's a thing. So I have been doing that early in the mornings. I think that our video is leaning. Maybe if we lean this way, we'll look straight. Sorry. It's going to be crooked. I'm not going to get up and stop the video and make you go through all that. But anyway, sorry it's crooked. So I've been doing that like early in the mornings, or when I just kind of feel, or even like late at night when I feel a little bit bored, I'll go in and spin a while. So I've been making progress on that. But the other thing we did was, so my daughter, you know, we're coming to terms with the fact that she's not going to come back. She'll come back to visit, but not to live, right? So we had pulled all our new suitcases. Well, we had gotten a new suitcase for our trip, and one of the reasons we got one is that our other suitcases we'd been storing in the garage, and they had gotten extremely dirty and like little spider webs kind of on the outsides, you know? It's the garage.
Yeah.
And it was over by the door, by the big garage door where, you know, it's more exposed
Critters
to
can get in.
Yeah. And so I told Mark, we got the new suitcase, and my suitcase wasn't like that, but I didn't want it to get that way. So I was like, let's store them inside. And I knew that in our daughter's closet we have a chest of drawers, actually, and a TV, because her room is full of stuff. And then she had about half the closet of her like dresses and odds and ends and bits and bobs. And I knew that none of it had been looked at in years. there was only 2 dresses in there that she was interested in. So I asked her permission, and Mark and I went through the whole closet. And all the way down to the floor and cleaned it out. And so we put our suitcases in her closet. But now on the bed, there's a whole bunch of my junk, my yarn and junk that I've been kind of just throwing. So I really have to go through and clean it up. But in her stuff were some slippers I had made her years ago. And I said, you know what? I've been looking for the book that I got that. It was a Learn to Knit book. And I had been looking for it for a long time and wishing to make those slippers again. They're just garter stitch. You make them flat and then you sew them together. And I've always like, I want to make those slippers again. And I've thought about them over the years. And then when I found her actual slippers, I put them on and I was like, you know, they're all beat up now. But I was like, I want to make these again. So then I was looking through some other stuff from all these piles of junk that I have there. And guess what I found? This is I Can't Believe I'm Knitting by Leisure Arts, with a very happy girl in the probably 80s sitting there. And I did learn to knit out of this book. I don't think I've made very many. I certainly haven't made like the sweaters and stuff. But I just kind of...
That font is so familiar.
I know. I just kind of learned, you know, the knit stitches and stuff like that from this book. And then I did make the slippers. Let me see if I can find a close-up of them. Or that might be the only pictures, the one on the back. Oh, you know, here it is. There's the slippers here. They're just garter stitch, and you make a ridge that allows them to fold along the side of your feet and stuff like that. And you make a little tie that you can tie around your ankle. Maybe they're kind of ugly, but they're comfy because they're garter stitch. They're because garter stitch doesn't feel ridgy like Eve was describing crochet feels, and it feels real soft and it's squishy. So I even put Hannah. I had made some just like this in dark blue for Hannah, and I put them on and walked around the house in them, and I'm like, these are comfortable because they're garter stitch. So anyway, I was like, I want to find that. So here it is. See, they're kind of ugly, but they're my ugly. No. So I found this old book, and there's sweaters and vests and very kind of very old looking designs, but it's fun. So that was a fun thing. And except for stories, I guess that's me.
Right.
I'm going to take Hannah's. Oh, and also, I don't know if this happened on the airplane or what, but there was a big old icky, yucky something on my new bag I found today, and I was like, what is that? So I'm going to work on Hannah's sweater while I talk. So this is her sweater. I've shown it every week. It's still pretty much in the same condition. But I like it. It's going to be great. And I'm going to take it with me and work on it while I'm there.
You're going to take it with you, and then you're going to bring it back.
I'll bring it back in the same state. No, I'll take it with me. But I am going to go to the yarn shop while I'm in Boston. It's called Gather Here. And I'm going to... I want to... Every summer, or at the beginning of the summer, I call it the emergency summer top. And I make Hannah some kind of summer top out of like a cotton, bamboo, something yarn. Every year. It just happens because she's going to a conference or she's going to a summer institute, so I can make her this and she can wear it on stage, and then I make it, I send it, and she wears it on stage. So her summer institute this year is short, but I still I'm itching to make it, and she likes to play with. She's talking about how she likes to have her left shoulder bare, so I'm looking for a one-shouldered tank. And I have not found a good one. If you know of a good pattern, send it my way. But I'm hoping to find one in the next couple days and then go buy the yarn with her in Boston. So we'll see. But anyway, that's me.
Beth, since you have a finish.
Yeah. So I last week I was working on one of my WIP-GO calls. And my goals were 7 days on each piece. And I showed the secondary things that I'd worked on. but the main one was the Jackrabbit. And so Saturday was technically 7 days, but I went ahead and worked on it a little bit on Sunday, just to get it at a good stopping point, I guess. And this is Cottage Garden Samplings. Yeah, Cottage Garden Samplings, A Year in the Woods series. This is number 3, the Jackrabbit. So I did just a little more. Let me move this needle winder. If I can do it without losing the needle. Knocking the needle off. Yeah. So I did a little bit more on mostly on his ears, I guess. So they look a little bit less like antlers and more like ears.
They still look like antlers.
Like a jackalope. Yeah. So
There's a road here in Scottsdale. It's called Jackalope.
Oh, really?
That road,
That's funny.
I'm glad I don't have to drive it anymore. Let's just say that.
But anyway, so I hit the goal of 7 days on that, and then on Mother's Day, I had a finish finally. This pattern by a New York Dreamer called Mother, and this is the what I mentioned before that's problematic in that it's lacking some information on it. I didn't do on this finish. There's like 2 initials on here that are I assume an initial, either something belonging to Isaiah Gladstone, who is the designer, or maybe whoever stitched the model or whatever. But up here, like there's some words on the front, that are back stitched, and above this one word here, there are 2 what seem to be initials, A and P, because the word underneath them is joy. So they don't belong to the word, obviously, and they're just by themselves. And there's no indication in the pattern about what they're about, or put your own mother's initials in there, or here's an alphabet so you can none of that. So I just left it off because I thought, well, I could try to figure out my mom's initials, which are the same as mine, by the way. But I didn't feel like hassling with trying to figure out, because like I said, there's no alphabet, and so yeah, I would have had to totally make it up. So, but I did do all the rest of the stitching. This is I really don't like this cloth. It's a linen.
Was it a kit, or did you choose?
No, I bought it some time ago. But it's a very loose weave, and I really don't like it, because if I had any kind of tension, the threads tended to squish and bunch, and and so yeah, it's a very loose weave, and I think it's 26 count, but I'm not really sure, and so yeah. I mean, the color is nice for this. It's a little on the, like the gray lettering. There's a barn gray is used for the lettering for some of the words, and it's kind of doesn't show up real well. So I could have gone, I don't know, with a different shade. But I guess I had this piece of fabric, and I thought, oh, that'll work. It's the right size or whatever. But anyway, so it looks pretty good. And then I did do these little, I think they're called Tudor roses. I meant to look up. I have a little bunny sampler by Chessie and Me that had, that's where I learned how to do this rose. And I thought, well, I may should look that up, and so I can remind myself how I did it, blah blah blah. And I thought, I don't feel like doing that. I thought, I think
How
I
do you think
remember
they
how to
were
do it.
invented? Somebody just going, oh, I'll do it. Like
Yeah, and so they're not as perfect as I would like them, but they came out pretty good.
Well, they look nice.
Yeah, and so the white one I just had just used, I don't know what, like I think DMC 3865 or something like that. I just a piece of white that whatever I had handy, because it's not one of the colors, one of the called for colors in the pattern, but in the picture on here, she has like a pink rose and a white rose they look like they're clay buttons or ribbon buttons or something. I don't know what, but so I just made them up and put them on there.
I like them.
So yeah, it came out pretty nice. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with it. I think I might make it like a flat fold, like the one that's like in the picture. It depends on what I can do with this fabric, because I don't think it'll lend itself to making a pillow or anything, because it's so open. And then the other thing I was working on is my next WIP-GO. One of my other WIP-GO pulls is this. I'm not going to say it in French. A rabbit in my garden. This is by Jardin Privé. And it's like a little, kind of like a snow globe kind of thing, looking thing. A little globe, global terrarium kind of thing. And yeah, and it went really fast, really quickly. I'm working on the actual rabbit in the garden. And the design goes a lot further down here in the bottom. But yeah, I did a lot of the tree trunk is finished, and I've been putting in a lot of the leaves and stuff. And yeah, you can really see the round shape to it. And I was missing one of the colors. I was looking and looking and looking, and I know I have it because it's just a DMC color, and I couldn't find it. You know, I thought it may be in. I have a couple of patterns that have like a lot of threads in them that I did not put in my thread keeper app, and so you know, like I have, what is it? A Year in the Woods is a Carol Manning. Daily Walk in the Woods. Sorry, Carol Manning chart that I've been working on little by little, and so there's all kinds of color. It has a big, long color list. So there's all kinds of colors in there for backstitching and trees and tree trunks and all that kind of stuff. And so it might be in there. I don't know. But I couldn't find it anywhere handy. So I went to Joann's the other day and bought some threads. And there's a
You went to Michael's.
Michael's, that's right. So in this pattern, there's a couple of butterflies. Teeny weeny butterflies here, and in the chart it says, you know, if you want, you can stitch this other butterfly in this other color just so that they're different, because like it says, like it is in the photograph. So the chart calls for both of the butterflies to be a single color, but on this picture they did a slightly different color, you know, very close but slightly different color for this other butterfly. Mm-hmm. So I thought it would be kind of fun to do the butterflies in Etoile. And so these are the colors that, this is the one I was missing. But then this is the color that they suggested for the other butterfly. And so I decided to look for Etoile colors. So this one is very close to this color, but there was not one that, when I pulled the other color for the other butterfly, the closest Etoile matching thing was kind of ugly. It wasn't really as vibrant as I wanted it to be, that they had there on the display anyway. So I went ahead and just chose a different color. So I have these two for the butterflies. I thought I'll just, and you know, it's really hard for me to do something different that's not in the color on the chart. But yeah, so I did that. And while I was there, I bought another.
Eve to hold your hand. And...
Yeah, I bought another thing of linen.
She does it all the time.
20 by 24.
Yes.
Linen.
Yes, I do.
And then while I was checking out I bought this. I looked at these last time we were at Michael's, and I almost got them because they're a little, they're a little bit expensive for just a little box of stupid candy. But I love these because they have the picture from Jaws on them, and they have little quotes. So they have one box that says Quinn says what about for that you get the head, the tail, the whole damn thing, something like that about the shark. And then this shark swallow you whole. So
see.
Yeah,
it's bent on purpose.
Yeah,
Okay.
And if you open it up, there's little shark teeth.
Oh, how funny! We'll take a close up of these.
Yeah,
Shark teeth. That's funny. Fun.
Yeah. So these are little
Amity Island sours.
Yeah,
that's cute.
Yeah, cherry flavored shark tooth candy. Yeah. So that's me.
Okay. Just a second, I'm putting a thread.
Putting a thread.
So, as I said last time, I was trying to participate in WIP-GO weekend. Didn't get a lot done on the one I was wanting to work on. And I'll explain why in a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to say this fabric that I'm doing the bunny in my garden. This is 18 count Ada that I dyed using a technique from a book. I talked about it when I did it. No, a year ago or something, 2 years ago. I don't know. But I think I used I know I had like a paper towel underneath it, but I just like dipped it in the dye and then blotted it on the fabric. So it's hard to see from on there, but it's like springy colors, yellow, greens and pinks and purples and yellows.
Purple.
Yeah.
Pretty.
So it's not very dark because of that blotting technique, but it's nicely subtle and goes with this design very well. Except there are little blue splotches on there because from the neck of the dye bottle, the dry, crusty little things must have splattered on there. So yeah, so there's little accents of blue here and there. So anyway, that's it.
Okay, so as I said last time that I wanted to do this on WIP-GO weekend.
Oh yeah.
And I did some. I started on the flowers.
Oh, where's...
I would have gotten more of these flowers done were I a patient person.
Oh no, counting problems?
No. So the pattern came with a whole bunch of black and white sheets and a couple of color ones. And there is a sheet that is color of that bottom part. But that color one does not have the symbols in it.
Mm.
And the one with the symbols in it is black and white. But I could not see them. And so I'm picking up my phone going, what symbol is that? And I knew, because I was starting at the reds and going that way, that it was going to be in some kind of red color.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Because there's also, these little yellow flowers. So, and I liked the way this looks. I wanted to make sure I was using the right color.
Mm-hmm.
So it was becoming tedious. So I just was like, yeah. But it was a bad decision to put this aside.
Why? Oh.
I've had a frustrating weekend, let's just say. A week.
Half a week. Oh,
I decided to work some more on my dog.
I don't see your dog on the table.
No, it's in a bag down here.
Oh. I thought maybe he was in timeout.
He should have been, but he wasn't. So the yarn comes like this, okay? And you can see now it's pulling a couple of different ways.
Oh no.
Because it is not evident where the end is, you end up accidentally getting more yarn than you actually want. I'm not having the issue so much. You see how it's twisting right here? So you have to be careful to constantly take the twist out.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's a whole bunch of going back and forth with the, I'll just show the dog head because he's cute. All right, trying to get the other bag. Sorry about the fussling. Okay. You see how this isn't a nice, neat ball? Well, sort of neat. So it was like this. And I noticed that it was getting... my ball of yarn has a second ball of yarn because it just keeps unraveling from the outside. So I noticed that it was, because I was going back and forth, it was twisting.
Mm-hmm.
The whole darn thing looked like this little knot of thing, but it was like a big knot. And then it was and you have to be very careful because this is chenille, and if you pull too hard on it, it'll fall apart. No, it'll fall apart.
Oh no.
Or it'll cinch so tight you can't move it. Because there's some parts of it where it says to start with a magic ring.
Uh-huh.
I can't. If I start with the magic ring, I have to tighten it down as much as I think I'm going to need to tighten it down before I put any stitches in. Because once I get those stitches in there, they stick to each other and it will not pull out. See, you see me already going, okay, how does this go? And this is just a small amount. So I started trying to untangle the gray. And I kept trying to untangle it. It took me 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
And knots and things don't usually bother me. I have, I've worked with string projects most of my life, and you just get used to it. There's a knot, you just take it out, and there's usually a certain way that you try to take it out, and it took me, like I said, 4 days. So by the time I started crocheting more, I was like,
I'm all done.
No, I was like exhausted, and most of the week had already gone. And then I'm further up on the body, and I look, and on the butt, this is supposed to look like a heart. Does it look like a heart? No, because this is wrong right here.
It's fine.
But I looked at it and went,
oh, well.
It's just going to have to be like that. When I saw that his little bottom was supposed to have a heart, I was like, okay, so there's his tummy. So this is very close to the end of the body, and then I crochet the feet in. I don't cut the yarn off. I just keep crocheting, right? And then I stuff the little feet. It's kind of it's weird, kind of complicated.
Yeah.
How you stuff it, because it's all one piece, and even though I had that gigantic, frustrating knot, I finally had to cut it.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I just went to a color change area and cut it there, because I was like, yeah, I can't deal with this anymore.
Actually, so I have this weird, maybe it's like the same kind of compulsion that makes people pick scabs and things like that. But I actually kind of love untangling knots. Like, I will just sit there and, like, I'll have like, when Hobbs grabs my yarn and tears it up or whatever, I'll just sit there and cross things over and put them on, and I don't know, I kind of love it.
The day that I was first trying to do it, which I think was Saturday, might have been Friday.
Do you have lotion?
No.
You have lotion?
Yeah.
That day, Ouch. I started trying to untangle it, I guess about 8 o'clock. And I finally went to bed at like 1:30. And I had made very little headway. Can I have my lotion back? Because you make me realize I need it. Have an owie. And so I was working on my dog, but I didn't do a lot of work on the dog.
Oh, no.
I would have been finished had it not if it hadn't been knotted. And you know, it didn't do that the last time with the other dog.
The black one, yeah.
Yeah. Which I'm realizing now that you know how the first time you read somebody's patterns, it's not as easy as the second time you read them. So I'm going, oh, well, that would have been easier.
It's like that meme with Sheldon, where he's going, why? Looking through things, why? And then at the end, oh, that's why.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so I wasn't going to do this, but I went ahead and did it even though it's not Friday.
Reminds me of a play I was
exactly
in
what
high
you're going to
school.
say. Yeah. You tell the
It's
same
not
story
Friday.
every day time somebody talks about
I
Fridays.
won't tell.
Okay. No, I'm just saying.
Anyway, so here we are. And we had a couple of orangish days, and then it went back to yellow.
It was an orange day.
2 days of 99. But I think it's supposed to be 100 tomorrow.
Yes, that's what I read. That's why I'm leaving town.
I'm looking forward to it being 100.
Okay, here's a moment. There's a hair on my, because your hair falls out, right? And I'm looking at it, I'm like, that's not my hair. That's gray. Oh, wait. It is my hair. Sorry.
And
Some
then
old woman was get at my knitting.
the project I'm working on right now, trying to work on, I'm fixing a mistake right now, is one of my WIP-GO pulls. This is Turtle by DMC. And so I wish I could show you the picture so you could understand what I'm talking about. This fin and one of the back fins is largely blue and gray with a darker gray in there. And I decided not to put this blue on the darker gray, just on the lighter gray. And the darker gray, I was going to put green on it. The green I'm talking about is this one. It's very green. And it's also kind of like tinsel. It's very hard to work with, but it's very shiny.
It looks really beautiful, whatever you're doing.
And since I'm adding all this sparkle stuff to it, I have to just really plan ahead what I'm doing. Oh, that's where it came from. On Robert's stuff that he had on the table, I found a shiny red thread, and I was like, where did this come from? Just found it. So these two grays are the grays that I'm talking about. This is the dark blue, so it's really dark, right? And it's a huge color difference between that blue and those grays. But the rest of it is this green color. And I was trying to decide, when I started this pattern, I bought a whole bunch of Kreinik threads. connecting with each other now. I've already done a whole lot of knots. I'm not worrying about this. This orange and this orange, which I used on the back, right? I used this clear on the back too, on one of the lighter colors. And then I bought this blue for the dark blue and that other fin, and this green for the green part, right? I'm wondering if I shouldn't use this clear color on that other gray that doesn't go with the blue, and it doesn't really go with the greens.
That makes sense.
I used this on the shell. It doesn't show up very much. It just adds just a little bit of sparkle, but it's a little bit thick and weird. So I don't know. And even though they have those little caps that let you tuck it under there, they untuck themselves, and now they're everywhere. And they're connecting with each other, and
those kind of knots I don't like.
yeah, it's just
Little tiny thread knots drive me nuts.
it's like, well, it's like, I think I'm just gonna cut this. So, but when I look at the turtle, as his face and his fin are starting to take shape, I'm like, but I don't want to put this down, and it's already
so
the
cute.
16th.
It's very cute. The WIP-GO police are going to come get you.
Yeah, but I really want to work on the other one too. And I still want to do some more work on the impossible flowers, but I'm going to have to blow those up or something. I don't know. So, because I was still avoiding the flowers on that project, I started Botanical Bee. No. Yes, that's what it's called. I called it something else a few minutes ago. So, that is my tiny little start.
Butterfly.
Yeah. So, I had been working on this turtle. And I look at the bee going, does that bee need shiny wings?
Crazy woman.
These wings. I'm like, do those need to be shiny,
Well,
shimmery?
All your playing around with it things. There's a little dragonfly in this design, and these wings are just like backstitch. And I thought I could use a toile, make it shiny.
Y'all are crazy. And then we'll hear about how hard it was, and how much you had to hated it.
I don't know.
But you're the shiny girl.
I like to put shiny, and that's why I looked at this and went, well, you know, those wings might need a little bit of gossamer added to them. We'll see.
Makes sense for a bee.
Yeah. This is the project I'm supposed to be starting on. And I don't have a paper version of it. This is the Chronicles of Narnia. This is by
Is it that book club thing?
Sapphire Mountain Handcrafts.
same.
But it's the book club. Oh gosh, it fell out of my head. Anyway, I love this pattern, but I never get very far when I'm working on it, and I don't know why. But it is on a fabric I already like. This is the called for fabric. It is a DMC shiny fabric.
You with the shiny.
And so I like it.
Oh yeah, it's a little sparkly.
It's very sparkly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which makes the whole thing look sparkly. Now, I had gone through a little bit past the first, I think it was in 3, it was a SAL.
Yeah.
And then I realized that the program doesn't show me
The backstitch.
the back stitch. So I went back and started, because I was like, what are those little spots for? So I started putting in the back stitch. So this says The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And it has crowns and all kinds of things.
It's very cool.
I love it. I'm not sure that I want to put down turtle, though. Considering that I've had this for a while, you know, my not wanting to put it down is a novel thing. So I'm going to tell a quick story. Beth had an appointment. It wasn't too far. Took Beth. We stopped somewhere on the way back. She needed something. I don't know. Maybe that's when we went to Michael's. I don't know. And I kept telling her, I think there's something wrong with the car. It's handling weird. Doesn't feel right. But I wasn't getting any messages.
Yeah, and we went by a wall or something because it sounded, like you could kind of hear the talk,
So
Yeah.
But we got home and I forgot about it. And my son came home later and he says, Mom, I have some really bad news. And I said, what? And he goes, your front passenger tire is flat, flat, flat. And I said, he goes, do you want me to change it? And I said, no. I said, I'll just call AAA tomorrow to change it and drive over to Discount. All fixed, right?
Uh-huh.
And actually they were still under warranty at Discount.
Oh, that's nice.
But at Discount I find out that the treads were separating on both of the front tires. And that's why I was feeling that
oh, wow.
But
Dang,
the
you're
one,
lucky you didn't wreck.
yeah, the one that I took the freeway on the way there, but I didn't take it on the way back.
Yeah.
But the flat tire had 2 screws in it.
Oh my gosh.
There is construction everywhere in town this time of year. The freeway is shredded right now. And there's you cannot find a road to drive down that doesn't have construction on it.
It's weird. The freeways there near us, they're building another another exchange kind of thing, and so almost every day it looks different, and certainly like every Monday it looks different because over the weekend they do all kinds of stuff. But there'll be like those standing things, and then all of a sudden part of the bridge is over it, and you're like, is it okay if I drive under this? Yeah, sometimes you're looking at it in the distance and it looks like those things from iRobot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when we were in high school, they were building our building. And so the first year, I mean, when they opened it, they had like phase 1 and phase 2. And so partway through my freshman year, they had us going to the new building. And then so we'd be walking to class and we'd be going out there and they were like, there was part of it they were outside entrances. And then eventually they enclosed those to make them inside entrances. But I noticed that when we were walking to class, here we are walking to class and up above here's the construction workers and they're all wearing hard hats. And I'm going,
okay,
I hope so, dropping them on my head.
That's not the whole story, okay?
So you had 2 nails.
Yeah, Beth went with me, and I dropped her off at Wendy's, and I went and that morning, before even I called AAA, I called them. And
Discount.
I called Discount, and I said I'd like to make an appointment to have my tire either repaired or replaced. He goes, you don't need to make an appointment for that. I said, I know, but I'm going to because I don't want to wait around. So it was for $12.45 or something. And AAA had come and gone long before that. And I took Beth there's a Wendy's in the same parking lot. I dropped her off there. I took my car, walked over there, and we started eating lunch. It was done before I even ate half of my sandwich. Okay.
Love them.
Because I had an appointment. Okay. So fast forward to today. Beth and I went to pick up a few groceries. And we went to put the groceries in the back of the car. And they had put the little tire back in the back, up in the back thing of the car instead of putting it away.
Instead of putting it under where it belongs. Like underneath.
No, mine you have to take up the carpeting in the middle of the car and pull up panels, and it goes inside there
near the side doors.
Yeah,
in the middle,
behind the passenger seat.
Behind the front two bucket seats.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
In the side doors.
Right.
Near the side doors.
You have to get
near
it.
the back
You have
door.
to get to it through the side doors.
Oh wow, how weird.
And so I went.
So there you go.
Okay.
Back to
This is annoying. You know, I told Beth I could ask Robert to put it away, and then I thought about it, and I was like,
yeah,
I paid somebody to fix my car. It should be fixed, and that includes putting the donut tire where it goes, you know. And the thing is, the AAA guy, when he was putting that tire on my car, he's like, I hate this design. I said, yeah, but what about the one where it's underneath? He goes, I hate that one too. I'm like, I know that they want to put it somewhere where it is not taking space from you using the car. Mm-hmm. And they don't want to have it showing because it's ugly. Okay? But then they make it so hard to get to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I called him and I said, I'm bringing my car back because I need somebody to put the tire where it goes. And he's like, I'm really sorry about this. And I said, somebody probably just didn't know where to put it and put it in the back and then thought, I'll ask somebody, and then forgot about it. Yeah. He's like, yeah, the younger kids, they don't know where it goes.
Crazy Honda.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of, a while ago you were talking about patterns. I was about SALs. There's a SAL that I had seen on Just Keep Stitching that had talked about it, and then Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch on her Flosstube. She was talking about it. Yes, it is. Yeah, and but it's a SAL by, I think it's Black Crow Stitches, something like that. I'm not real familiar with the designer, but it's called Deadly Aquarium. And so I guess like right now you could buy, it's like $18.50, something like that to purchase it. But I think like right now is the framework, and it's like a kind of like
Stitch-a-long.
Yeah, it's got like a border thing, and then like I don't remember how many, if it's.
Is it a mystery stitch-along?
Yeah.
Oh.
If it's 3 weeks or longer, I don't know how long it is, but with each release, there's like a set of sea creatures, and they're real sea creatures, but they're, I guess, I don't know, deadly. I don't know what they all are, but
that sounds like fun.
Yeah, I've been looking at it going, do I want that? I don't know if I want that, but I kind of want it. So yeah, I'm thinking about that.
How much are typically? How much are patterns?
It just depends. Some of them are inexpensive, like $5.
Uh-huh.
They're generally $8 to $12, something like that.
Yeah, it's like knitting patterns.
And then some of them are more complicated and bigger that are like it could be $30.
It also
like that.
depends on who the designer is.
Yes, I was going to say it depends on how
famous they are.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Every Erica Michaels pattern is at least $15.
Wow. Yeah. Because she
Like-
can.
Those little statehood series patterns are like $5, but
Yeah.
they're small.
Yeah, that's how knitting patterns
Yeah.
are pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some are more expensive, and people complain about it, and I'm like, these designers are working hard.
Mm-hmm.
What was I gonna say? Oh, So, getting ready to go to Boston, I had a nightmare the other night. I haven't talked about it here before, but in January I was put on insulin, and it really just changed my whole eating and life, and it's been a huge change for me. But this is only coming up. It's the only second time I've traveled with it, and everything went fine when we went the first time. But I had a nightmare. In my dream, I was in Boston, and I'm like, I don't have any of my pills. I don't have my insulin. I don't have anything. I completely forgot because I bought a special little travel kit and everything. And in my dream, I'm like, I gotta find a CVS. I gotta figure out what to do. I gotta call my doctor. Like, I was like freaking out. So then when I got home from work today, I'm like, put my stuff right where I could see it. Hi, Vogue. It's like so crazy. I'm so excited about seeing Paul Simon. I'm so excited. I can't even tell you. I mean, I'm glad to see Hannah too. Oh, Friday night, she texted me the other day. She's like, on Friday night when you get there, you want to go here? And she sent me this thing. It's like a jazz club restaurant. It looks so cool. It's in the North End, and I'm really excited about that. And then Saturday, I have all day to myself. I need to text my friend. So I got to entertain myself all day Saturday. Not all day, but most of the day. So that'll be kind of fun. Just bop around Boston on my own. But and then her graduation's on Sunday, and then I don't leave till 7 at night on Monday, so that'll be nice because we can hang out and do stuff. And she doesn't have school anymore, obviously. Yeah. I mean, on Saturday she doesn't have school, but she's got rehearsals and teaching, and she's a busy girl. But yeah, and it's going to be cold, which I'm kind of glad of because I was worried it'll be. When she graduated her undergrad, it was like graduation day was kind of sticky and hot. But it's supposed to be like in the 60s all weekend. I'm like, that sounds great.
When you graduated, I came up from Florida, and I remember it was beautiful.
But
I liked Boston. Not well enough to live there, but I liked it.
I love Boston. It's so nice. But yeah, I'm looking forward to going back. And I'm just going by myself, which is kind of, it's a bummer.
Over her husband's birthday.
Yeah, I know. His birthday's Sunday.
Yeah, you can celebrate when you get back.
Well, I'm going to get him something from Boston. I'm going to have to figure something out. Get him something nice from there. What he really would like is for me to go to knock on the door, Handle Haydn Society, and say, will you just give me some reeds? My husband's birthday. He really wants your reeds. That's all he wants. But yeah, so it'll be good. So one of the things I did this week is so some time ago on Instagram I ran across a reel of a piece of a lecture by Aubrey Bergauer. She used to be an symphony orchestra like CEO, and she's done all kinds of stuff, but now she's a consultant. And talking about changing that because the orchestras and really all the arts have declining audiences, and everyone's trying to figure out why and what do we do about it, and how do we and do we change is it because of our programming, is it because what is it because it's just
it's because you're not on the radio,
the music is all old dead white guys, or like on and on and on, all this conversation. And what she's found is really you don't have to change your product. The product is solid, and it's evolving too, but you have to change kind of how you present it and how you, because if we talk about how music isn't in schools anymore, so people aren't growing up being exposed to it, but then as an adult we expect them to understand what a violin and an oboe are, and read a description and think that means something to them. Like, listen to the melodies pass from the violin to the oboe, and someone who's like isn't exposed to that is like, so what, So she's talking about how you can change marketing and your even just descriptions and your patron experience. And anyway, it's just really fascinating stuff. And in that video, she said, if you want to read the whole article that I'm talking about, put article in the comments and I'll send it to you. So I did that, and she sent me, I got a link, and I went to this article, and I like immediately shared it with all my colleagues. And so then in staff meeting one day, we were talking, and I said, we were talking about this very issue of like, how do we become more relevant, and how do we reach more people, and so, and I said, well, at some point, do we change how we talk about it? And one of the interns said, oh, there's this woman named Aubrey Bergauer. And I was like, yeah, I read her article. And he says, she's coming to Phoenix. She's speaking at the library on the 14th of May. And so while we're sitting there, the executive assistant looks it up, sends me the link. And so I'm looking at it, and it's free. It's at the library this past Tuesday. And so I got, right after staff meeting, I went and I looked at the link, I was reading about it, and I sent to my marketing VP, I was like, can I go to this? And she goes, I want the whole team to go to it. So we go, basically the whole marketing team, the whole development team, and our CEO and our executive secretary, we were all there. And what was nice is she gave a copy of the book to everyone. This is her book. This is the reason she's doing a lecture series. And she signed
What's it called?
It's called Run It Like a Business.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's so full of, that little article I read was like talking about describing concerts with bullet points rather than like these thick flowery paragraphs that, and because we have people who write our program notes, and they're great writers, but they are for, like, she's like, your subscribers will read that and understand it. The people who are, but for single tickets, like on your website, it needs to be cut down and just bullet points. And she even said, like, this one orchestra that she basically turned around, like, links to all the Wikipedia pages where you can go and read about the composer and the history of the piece and all that stuff if you really want to, and you want to understand what it is. And that today's audiences want to learn, and they're interested in the live experience, but they want to learn about it. And we are guilty of just assuming that and if you don't know, you're not in the club, kind of thing, Well, anyway, I'm just so fascinated.
Do you remember
I love
when
this.
you graduated? I was over there a day or two before Mom and Dad got there. And I had gone to listen to everybody's ending something at the hall. And that is where I heard a clarinet and went, that's what they're supposed to sound like.
Yeah.
And then I heard an oboe and went, okay. Well, I also, there and at your wedding, heard one of your friends who plays guitar. And, okay, I need to stress here, I don't listen to the same music these guys listen to. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. But while I was listening to something of one of the classical guitars or something, and I was telling Naomi how much I liked it. And she found a CD for me of it, and I used to play that thing every day in my office. And I played it in the thing in my computer. And I had to get my computer worked on, and I realized that the CD was still in there. I was like, oh no. And when it came back, the CD wasn't in there. And so I called them and I went, where's my CD? And beautiful, beautiful, beautiful guitar music. And they said, we found it and we were all listening to it, but they had to listen to it in a different computer because they were working on this one. And we just forgot to put it back. I'm so sorry. I had to go get it. But that is because I only found that because I heard it and then asked about it. But people don't have the opportunity necessarily to ask.
Yeah. Well, and it's So the lecture she gave was really fascinating, and then and I was telling my boss, I'm like, we need to run it like a business book club at work, like everybody read a chapter and then get together and say how can we apply it to us, because otherwise it's just a really nice lecture we went to, and so I'm like pushing for it, like let's really look at this stuff. It's fascinating to me. So
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And that was something fun we did this week. It was kind of nice. We get out of the office for a day. Oh, and we had bassoon auditions.
Oh.
Yeah, and they're gonna hire somebody. Somebody won. It's always nice. It's sad when you have an audition and nobody wins.
Yeah.
But I got to help for one of the days, so I got to help, like there was like a little holding room downstairs where they could wait, and then when a room became available, they came up and I took them to their room, and then I'd go and knock on the door and it's like, you're on deck, and and shuttle people back and forth, and it was fun. Heard a lot of Rite of Spring accents.
When I went to audition, I auditioned a lot of different places in the 4 years between when I graduated from graduate school and when I finally got hired in Little Rock. I went to all kinds of auditions, and one of the ones I did, it seemed like my presence was a kiss of death for every orchestra that I auditioned for, because so many of them went like folded.
Yeah.
After like about a year after I auditioned for them, whatever. But one of the ones I auditioned for was the New Orleans Symphony, whatever they call themselves. But it was in New Orleans, and our auditions were at a theater, hall, whatever, where they performed. But so we had the rooms that we were warming up in beforehand. There were a bunch of practice rooms, I guess, in the basement of this building. And then when it was close to our turn, they took us up to a little dressing room. And so, we were in this little dressing room before we went out on stage. But the dressing rooms were very live, because it was like playing in a bathroom. There's just the sound is bouncing off the walls and stuff. But then on stage, it was like somebody had put a sock in my bassoon, because it was so dead. And it was very disconcerting, because you're warming up in the little dressing room kind of thing, and it's very loud and very vibrant and very, and then you get out on the stage and it's like, and it was really weird.
That's bad.
But
so there's this one woman. So the way they did it was that every hour that the committee would vote, and they would tell people from that hour who went to the next level. Mm-hmm. So the people who had played during that hour, we were doing like 8 or 7 an hour. Mm-hmm. So the people who had played during that hour would kind of go to this other little waiting area, and they just sit and chill until the hour was up. We got the vote back, and then our operations guy would go and say, okay, number so-and-so, number so-and-so, number so-and-so, you're moving on. Mm-hmm. And then the people who didn't move on would leave, and the people who did move on would come and get kind of instructions for the next day, and then they would leave. Well, so after they would play, they would come and go, they would pack up, and then they'd come out to kind of be like, what do I do now? And we'd say, at the end of the hour, we're going to announce, so just wait down there. And they're like, okay. So they'd go wait. And this one woman walked out the door, and I looked at her face, and I was like, she was just kind of like this really stern look on her face. And I thought, oh, either she's upset or she just has her game face still, Uh-huh. And she went to pack up, and she's coming back to come to the exit door, my friend was like, oh, if you would like to wait, we're going to give results at the end of the hour. She's like, no. And he goes, oh, do you want me to email you? She's like, no. And she just like, when you know, you know.
Well, when I went to
I wish I'd heard her audition.
I went to audition in one place. I don't remember where it was exactly. It might have been the one in, I don't know, it was like Wyoming, Casper, Wyoming, maybe? I don't know. But there was like I guess, I don't know if they if we had submitted tapes or what the deal was, but it was just me and this guy were the only two candidates. But it was really stupid and unfair. You know, typically when you do an audition, the first round, you're behind a screen so they can't see whether you're male or female or white, black, or brown or whatever, you know, anything about you. And there's a proctor who communicates between the committee and the person auditioning.
So they don't even hear your voice.
Yeah. So if you have a question, you have to whisper to the proctor, and then they ask, you know, and then the proctor is also supposed to tell you, oh, this is number 12 or whatever, and it's supposed to announce to the committee, right? And so, but this particular thing, the guy had auditioned the day before because he had a flight that day. And so it's like, well, they knew it was him because he was the only person there. Mm-hmm. And because they had to make, you know, blah, blah, blah concessions for him. And then when
Aren't you supposed to make your flights for the day that you're supposed to be there?
Yes.
Yeah, and then when I went out, the guy that was proctoring said, well, she has such and such, and it was like, what, you stupid.
Oh, man, yeah.
And they're like, you're not supposed to say. And I'm like, they already know. It's just him and me. That, you know, it's like.
Well, the committee's not supposed to know.
Yeah, I know, but they already knew.
The thing is,
they already knew.
They should never have let that guy.
Right. Yeah, it should never have happened that way. It was
and especially with the expense of you flying up there and
big waste of time.
But yeah. I think it was that audition that I was in, like I don't know, it was somebody's studio or something to warm up in, and there was like these little slit windows that looked out over the fields, and this was in Casper. I know for sure the warmer room anyway. But I remember I was, you know, warming up over, and I looked out the window and I thought, I don't want to live here. Sorry, anybody who lives out there, but it's like I was like, I don't want to live here. No. Please God, I don't want. Just let me lose the audition. I don't want to live here.
Here we do the auditions all the way through. All rounds are completely behind the curtain. Our music director, who just is leaving, he just finished conducting. That's what he insisted on all the way through. Like no exposure at all.
Yeah,
you make all the decisions that way, and
I think that's very nice.
It is very nice because then it's a completely level playing field.
Yeah, they
don't know. Yeah, man, woman, any kind of race, anything.
When I did Sioux Falls, it was really nice because they had people picking us up from the airport, so we didn't have to pay for a cab or anything. And they also had people taking us from the hotel to the facility. But the nice thing about that one is the first round was done by tape, so you could submit a cassette and they could listen to whoever, and then they only invited people who made it to the second round. So they didn't have you behind a screen or anything, but you had already passed the preliminary grouping.
Yeah.
So it was nice. But what was funny about that one is that, you know, I played and it wasn't perfect, but it was good. It was a good, you know, I performed well, all things considered. And one of the people, there were several people listening, and one of the people listening was one of the bassoonists. And so I didn't make it past that round, whatever. And so they, you know, somebody took me back to the hotel. And the next day, they also picked me up from the hotel and took me to the airport.
That's nice.
And the person that picked me up was the bassoonist. And she's like, you know, but she had to leave, like, I guess just after I played, she had to leave. And so she didn't know the results of that round, I guess. And so when she was taking me back to the airport, she goes, I was so sure you were going to go, you know, to the next step or whatever. And I was like, well, that's very nice, you know. But sadly, no.
Or you're just saying that because I'm in the car.
But still, she said it.
Yeah, I always say that my job in Little Rock, that I was really auditioning against the viola player.
Yeah.
Because he and his wife were like a package deal, and he was auditioning for not only the principal viola position, but also the viola position with the with one of our standing quartets, the Quapaw Quartet. And so he had already done his orchestra audition, and they liked him well enough for that position, but he had to audition for the quartet, and he hadn't done that yet. But so then I was auditioning against his wife. She was the only other bassoonist auditioning. And because they had already done, I guess, preliminary auditions in the spring, and then whoever they had awarded it to had decided not to take the job. But anyway, so I was auditioning against her, basically. And then I guess we did the preliminary round, like behind a screen. And then the second round, I played with the principal bassoonist. Mm-hmm. We played together to see, you know, how we played together and blah, blah, blah. And so then somebody that was on the committee told me, well, you know, if we could decide right now, we would hire you. But we have to wait because the viola player has to play for the quartet. And if they decide they really want him, then they'll take his wife as the second bassoonist. So if he had been a better viola player, I wouldn't have gotten hired.
Right.
So,
there's a joke in there somewhere.
Yeah, that's what I always say.
So it's very late.
It is.
Yes.
I have to go.
Yeah.
I gotta go. I this time all my clothes are clean, and it is before midnight. So all I have to do, I told Mark, all I have to do is come and decide what I'm gonna wear. But here's the dilemma, okay? Now my daughter's graduating. I'm very proud. Great, but you know, I have to decide what I'm gonna wear to graduation because Paul Simon is going to pick me out of the crowd and say, "You're my best friend," and then we're going to go and have dinner, and I'm going to get to know Paul Simon, and we're going to be best friends. So I got to wear something nice. So I got to go home and like decide what to wear.
Somebody was it?
He's going to be my best friend.
Yeah, there was some graduation ceremony that Jerry Seinfeld was a speaker.
I know.
Yeah, and
I heard about that.
It was very nice though. Yeah, his graduation talk was very nice. Yeah.
So I'm gonna. I can't wait. Like the biggest gift he could give those graduating people is
if he sang.
If he played something, I know. Wouldn't that be amazing? Like you need to play, Paulie. So great. But no, I really am just going to see my daughter.
You can like a Beatlemania, you stand up in the thing and scream, Paul.
I'm like, I got to figure out because no matter which staircase I sit near, he's gonna go down the other one because they all come in. You know, all the professors and everybody come down those two stairs, and for her undergrad it was James Taylor. I mean, that's cool too, right? But we were on this side, and he went down that side, and I'm like, I know if I pick that side, he's gonna go down this side. No matter what I do. But maybe if he passes by, I can just touch his robe. And I'll just be like, oh, I touched the robe of Paul Simon and now I'm cool. I'm obviously a silly fangirl.
Well, I got to play with.
If our last sentence got cut off, it's because the iPad ran out of storage. Thank you so much for joining us again this week. And sorry if our work time was a little short because I keep leaving town on the weekends. But I'm stuck here for a while after I get back. Anyway, thank you so much. And we will see you next week. And thanks for joining us. You have a good week.
Bye.
Bye.